Thank you all very, very much for being here. It's quite an honor for me to be with all of you, and certainly it's a thrill. It's my first time in Poland, and it has been a wonderful experience. And so I thank you not only for being here, but for your hospitality. My name is Sean Duffy. I come from Colorado in the United States. And I work in public policy, and I'm also a business and public relations consultant. This topic is one that is very, very important to me personally, and also to those of us who are conservatives in the United States. We find there, as well as, and as any of you have been to Colorado, you know we have wonderful mountains, we have wonderful skiing, we have wonderful hiking, and so the environment and the health of the planet is very, very important to us. And as a conservative, I believe, as the Prime Minister said, that we are the ones who can properly and appropriately balance the needs of the environment, the needs of our climate, but also the needs of families and communities, businesses, and the economy. We're the ones, in my view, who have the answers that will protect the environment and as well as protect the security, as the Minister said, of our families and our economy. What we'd like to do today, if I do my job correctly, is that we will have a robust conversation about the realities of the energy situation in Europe. We will discuss the weaponization of energy, which is obviously one that is political. The folks on the left, as the Minister said, weaponize it in order to just achieve the symbolism of their goals and their numbers, despite the effect on communities, on families, and on the affordability of our economy. But secondly, we also see here the far different reality of the weaponization of energy with the war in Ukraine, the evil weaponization of energy by Putin, and we see the practical, sad aspects of what happens when you are dependent on an evil power for your lights, your heat, and your ability to travel. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. We have a very distinguished panel of leaders, of thinkers, of business leaders. And so to begin, each one will have some initial thoughts, but I'd like to pose the question first to Mr. Majewski is, can we discuss the realities of our current energy security situation and the weaponization of energy in light of not only your company, but the energy industry writ large, if you will, as well as what that means for geopolitically for Europe and the West.
Good morning. Good, not so sunny and not especially windy morning, because we are in Poland and the majority of audience is speaking native Polish. I would be very glad if you would allow me to switch to Polish.
Fine.
Dzień dobry Państwu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, the European Parliament rejected three main points of the Fit for 55 package, returning it to the Environmental Committee. This is a sign, also myself as a green conservative, I see this as a good sign. It means that the energy crisis that we are dealing with and the war in the east, on the eastern flank of Europe, gives a certain sobering factor. It means that thinking about energy transformation takes on less ideological and more rational dimension. As we understand green conservatism, we understand it as an idea which puts within ecological thinking and thinking about the environment, puts the human being in the middle of that. What are the consequences? The consequences of putting the human being in the center, not some mythical Gaia, not the good of the planet in severance from the human being, the human. It's putting the human in the center implicates directions of thought, of action as energy solidarity, as the justice of or fairness of energy transformation, also energy channels, energy means and mediums to households, to industry, everything which serves people. Ladies and gentlemen, in Polish energy, and especially in the ENEA group, which is part of it, it's one of 4 large groups, energy groups in Poland, which have in their resources both generating energy sources, almost 70% based still on coal, and the distribution networks, the grid. One of these 4 groups is ENEA, which I have the pleasure from recently to head. My experiences in the fuel sector, in the gas sector, allow me to generate an opinion which is quite common and popular in Poland, that energy transformation cannot take place in severance and detached from reality of a given country. You cannot put the same measure to transformation, to the rate of that transformation in Germany, in Holland, and in Poland. The priorities are different, the realities, energy realities are different in terms of a resident of Amsterdam and a resident of Sanok or Przemyśl, of Polish cities in the beautiful Carpathian region. Ladies and gentlemen, in ENEA, as in the remaining groups, we understand that the green pivot is necessary. We understand that the energy transformation trend is irreversible and is necessary. However, the rate of those changes and the manner that they are conducted have to take into consideration the circumstances. In the group, we concentrate similarly as PGE, Tauron, and Energa. ENEA is participating in a project which is called NAPE, the National Agency of Energy Security. This is a project whose main assumption is that all the coal assets resourced by these 4 energies will be in the agency directly under the state treasury, releasing in a certain sense the coal footprint for the energy companies and dedicate to investments in RESs, mainly in wind, both onshore and offshore, photovoltaics, and further on also, as the Prime Minister mentioned, Jacek Sasin, new technologies, atom-related, and SMRs, so small nuclear reactors.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is one important aspect of the Polish energy sector. Now, from the point of view of energy generator and also from the point of view of the distribution system operator. The distribution system operator is a system that allows energy to reach households and companies. So there is one important challenge here, namely the fact that the fast development of distributed energy, PV in the first place. As a consequence, no building project in Poland can be realized without a source of green energy. This is a must for any construction project in Poland because of the requirements that there needs to be a renewable source, be it a heat pump or a PV system or energy storage facilities in the future. So this is what we call prosumer energy, distributed energy. It's mostly generated from photovoltaic sources, but this leads us to the following situation. Where there is wind, when there is sun, there's too much energy, and it's generated in a very distributed way. It makes it very difficult to manage the grid. It leads even to a situation where there is a transfer from low tension energy to medium tension energy grid, low voltage energy to medium voltage energy grid because of the prosumer distributed energy sources. This is a huge challenge to us because we need to stabilize this grid. We need to build distributed but also large energy storage facilities, and these have to be large-scale projects. Therefore, we have allocated money in our company, over 40 million zlotys for the upcoming decades, around $10 million or euros. So we are planning to spend a lot of money on that, on the distribution.
Thank you very much. Very much for your remarks. Mr. Niekers, I wonder if you might jump off those remarks and then talk about the threats we're under geopolitically, the view of the Baltic Security Foundation, and also what the path forward looks like. What will happen and what should happen may be two different things, and I'm just curious your view from a security point of view.
Thank you so much. It's working. Yeah. So thank you so much for first of all to organizers for hosting this event. Polish partners are always very active in hosting those very important debates pertaining to security within the region. And as for the speaker, I am glad that there is a thinking of major infrastructure, building of major infrastructure, which is really which we are really lacking in terms of succeeding those ambitions which we really have in our region, which is expressed by B9 initiative and other initiatives. These are only words and declarations without materialization of these ideas in form of sustainability, in form of resources, allocation of resources, and building infrastructure. I really regret the fact that we in Europe, over the last decades, we fell into the trap of dependence, of energy dependence, of single on the single energy resources. And we in Baltic countries, we began to understand this. But you know, it's like very convenient to just to follow the old path and not to change things until the moment it comes when you realize that you can't live anymore on the existing terms, and this is realization which should be a momentum for Europe and for Germany and for all the countries. I am really glad that Poland came to this realization, as the Baltic countries as well, and we are doing this very important work. I mean, when I was hearing discussion on nuclear energy, which might be very controversial, but from the point of view of energy security, it's a very progressive idea. We should build safe nuclear reactors, which can be done. We know it's possible, and it's a very realistic idea. In Latvia, we have, I think we underestimate renewable energy still. So we can do much more in wind, in utilizing wind energy and solar energy. There is also a lot of possibilities in building small hydropower plants, and we have these resources which should be utilized. We don't plan on nuclear energy in Latvia at this moment. But this is really good idea for us to think about to provide our energy security. Regionally, we really hope for big projects, engaging regional partners, and then here I would like to return back to the beginning, to the infrastructure, which is really necessary to build, to provide, in order to link up with liquid LNG infrastructure. There was good progress in Lithuania so far, and we in Latvia are working very hard on this as well. And we hope for developments in other B9 countries, so that we could materialize that ambition which we are expressing like every time. So that would be for my introduction. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm always fascinated by our friends on the left who pursue their climate goals as, again, a symbolic number, a symbolic view, but it's almost religious, isn't it, that they pursue these, and it's very seldom that they bring the true economic cost to bear in these conversations. And so we very seldom hear, we hear the glory of being carbon neutral, which is a lovely thing, except if you're in either Putin's chains or have no money in your pocket to feed your family. And so I'm curious, Mr. Riera, if you might share with us the economic realities of not only a rapid, hell-bent pursuit of green climate agenda and what that actually portends for freedom and for our economy.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to share my ideas with you. I am, as you see, it is a Polish guy, a Latvian guy. I am the first guy that is going to speak from the southern Europe, okay? And I think I'm going to try to show you a different type of approach, of course, economic, because my business degree is in economics, and I used to write an article every day for the newspapers, the Spanish newspapers, about the economy. Not only the Spanish economy, but also the European economies, okay? Let me tell you something because it's important. In 1975, with Franco was close to be dead, he had on his hands a plan to create 25 nuclear plants agreed with the United States. At this time, we had 6 plants. Today, we remain with 6 nuclear plants, but there was an agreement to build 25 more. You can imagine that now in Spain, with the difficulties, economic difficulties that we have, if today we had these 25 more nuclear plants. Okay, we made a lot of mistakes in the south, in Iberia, also in Italy, but we did something important that today can give an opportunity to change a little bit Europe. We have the capacity to store gas for 35% of the needs of Europe. We have regasification plants developed since 1969 until 2005 that gives the chance to regasificate LNG to normal gas exactly at the same amount of Nord Stream 1, 55 million cubic meters. But what don't have at this moment? The pipeline to bring it to Europe. But in 2010, we took a decision, and a very important economical decision, was we have a pipeline with Algeria that gives to Almeria, is one of the biggest pipeline, and we decided to use, to continue a pipeline until France. We make an agreement, we make everything, and we start to build up this pipeline. But in 2019, when it was at 100 kilometers distance of France, the socialist and communist government decided to stop it. That means that today we have not the chance to bring gas to Europe. We have regasification capacity for 55,000 million cubic meters. We have the capacity to store, but we don't have the chance to bring it to Europe. It's stupid. But this is what the socialism and the communism are doing with this type of projects. And for me, it's very important that here to bring ideas to, like you said when in the introduction, we need to convince from Europe to this socialist and communist party that governs today Spain to say, okay, guys, 100 kilometers, which is the cost? 1,000 million euros. 1,000 million euros. It's nothing at all when we are going to receive from Europe 140,000 million euros of support in next generation. Why don't we finish? It's the time. Second, very important, we have pockets of gas that to exploit it, we need fracking. But fracking is not green. How are we going to exploit hundreds of billions of tons that gives Spain the chance to use the gas for 100 years? Oh no, my God. The government says, no, fracking is not acceptable because it's not green. But on the other hand, we are bringing from your country, from the States, 180 carriers this year that will give us around our 40% needs to convert LNG to our needs. But the gas that comes from the States are produced by fracking. That means that we buy fracking gas, but we cannot produce. Second idea for the Europeans. We must oblige the stupid people that we have our government to produce, use fracking immediately in order to obtain as much gas as possible for Europe. Because if we use this fracking technology plus the regasification possibilities, and we finish mid-cut 100 kilometers, the European economy will benefit immediately of the capabilities that a stupid country that my country is today, because the Spanish were not stupid by our governments that we are suffering the last 20 years are really stupid, most of them. I'm sorry, but it's really true. The socialists, when we had with Zapatero from 2004 until the bankruptcy of 2011, plus the Popular Party that was not able to transform the economy and transform the public administration. And now, again, the socialism and communists has bring us to the bankrupt. We are going directly to the bankrupt in the following months. If not, you will see the big problems that we are going to have in Spain for paying the debt. Economy, two measures will save a lot of money to Europe, but we need to convince our government.
Thank you all three of you very much. I'm curious about something, two things that the Deputy Prime Minister said, and I'd love each of you to react to it. The first he said, which I thought was very compelling, is he said that we need an energy policy that's clean, sustainable, and secure. And that's a hierarchy of values. And I'm wondering how you would rank that hierarchy of values. It seems to me that we're in a climate, pardon the pun, now, where security may trump, again, pardon the pun, sustainability and clean. So I'm just wondering how you think through what the Prime Minister said about clean, sustainable, and secure.
Rzeczywiście słowa
Yes, that's right. Prime Minister Sasin has described what our energy policy should look like. And we all know these words. This is a policy we've been actually implementing for a couple of years now. Now we are experimenting an energy crisis which started before the war in Ukraine, and I think that it has made us rethink these elements of the policy and this ranking. This ranking has changed. Our approach has changed because now security comes first. The security of supplies. But let me stress that in Poland, the security of supplies has been our concern for a couple of years now. And this is because Russia is our neighbor, and not so long ago, Poland was still dependent on the Russian supplies. And it was a cause for concern for us even before, because we were aware of the fact that such a dependency could be dangerous. And what we are witnessing now is the greatest proof of that, because we had warned Europe, the European Commission, the European society. We had been telling them that this might lead to some negative consequences. The Polish government and the Polish company PNG were fighting against Nord Stream 2, which luckily has not been put in operation, because had that happened, Europe would be even more dependent on Russian gas. And we would have disregarded all alternative sources of supply, because they would have become unprofitable. So this is also a point to what you, Mr. Riera, has said. Works now underway to find alternative sources of supply. Spain has a few LNG terminals that might be used to later feed the gas into the European system, but what you lack is a pipeline, precisely, with a pipeline to Europe, a gas line. And I get the impression that now you will come back to the project of connecting with Europe very fast, the same as Germany will now come back to the projects of building terminals and soon, and also take Netherlands, Austria and Germany. The storage facilities used to be owned by Gazprom companies, Gazprom group companies, and only now, after the war broke out, do we start to talk about nationalizing these companies that own these storage facilities, because this is strategic infrastructure and definitely this should be owned by countries. This is an issue of security which should always come first.
Continue that conversation along the same lines, and I'm wondering, as you react to these remarks, also bring in the issue of state sovereignty that the Prime Minister was also concerned about. And so what does the future look like in terms of clean, sustainable, and secure as values, and what does that impact? How do we preserve the sovereignty of individual countries and the freedom that we're here to discuss and celebrate?
First of all, I would say that every dependence on Russia should be cut. So we should absolutely cut every energy. So this is so we should forget about that. So this is what we this is the challenge for us. First of all, to understand and completely to comprehend this, that this is the future. There is no future with Russian energy supplies, absolutely. So this is the past. It never come back. And then there comes question of accessibility of energy resources. Of course, then this is security of the security question. I fully agree with Mr. With that, his point that security comes first, and with this, it's necessary to link the northern, the north and south. These links should be not only discussed and declared as nice ambition, but it should be fulfilled with and materialized. And I'm really glad for our Spanish speaker and really his and that contribution so we have options on the table. We just really need to connect these channels of supply and really become and succeed at sustainability for the future and succeed full independence from Russian energy.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, clean, sustainability, and security. Of course, he's a political guy. He has to say that. If he said something different, he will have a problem tomorrow with everybody. We see the people of the competence and the people that are not going to support different type of ideas. You must to say that. You are obliged to say that. But anyway, it's important. Of course, security. Of course, clean. Of course, sustainability. But which is important today is what this guy said. We have to avoid Russian dependency. If we are able to forget Russia, we are going to have a big problem as a Europe. And we need to find solutions that give us the chance to be independent. What I said, I know that LNG is expensive than other techniques, of course, but at least give you to survive. If we are capable to bring you the same amount of gas that Nord Stream is saving and bringing to Europe is a big opportunity. Okay, let's work on that way. Cost, of course, is important, but it's much more cost. We have much more in our invoice of electricity and gas. We have the taxes for the CO2 emissions. Okay, this is really expensive. This is what is really damaging the poor economies that every day has to pay taxes. That's what is really important. The cost of to transform LNG to gas, if we have the capability to bring to Europe, now it's much more important than the cost. Reduce. What we have to do is to forget the Agenda 2030 as it was defined for the green economy. Green economy is only for the left people. The green economy is a disaster for Europe at this moment, and we have to say it very clearly. And we have to say to everybody that we have to transform the 2030 in 2150 century. We have to focus, thank you. We have to focus in how to solve the Russian dependency at this moment. Clean, of course. Sustainability, of course. Security, no doubt. But we need to do something to prevent the future of our citizens.
One of the things, we've all been to many conferences, and one of the things I always look forward to hearing and also regret when I don't hear are what we as leaders can do on a subject like this, because many times conservatives get the bad reputation of complaining and not solving. And I think one of the things we're already hearing is there are solutions. But for all three of you, and in any order, I'd be really interested in what maybe one or two things that the leaders in this room can be doing, should be doing practically and immediately to combat the weaponization of energy. Start any of the three of you.
Okay, I think that all of the people that are here at this room are conservative, okay? We have to lose our, to forget our threats. We need to explain to our people, to our citizens, which is the reality. The reality is the Agenda 2030 is trying to change the world that we, the conservatives, don't want to change. And we have to explain that we need to take decisions, probably hard decisions, because this situation that we have today with the petrol, gas, oil, etc., is really dangerous for the whole Europe. And we need to make new alliances. We need to establish new plans, and we need to define clearly and present to all of the citizens in Europe. Most of the voters of the Europeans needs to know that the conservative has plans, has ideas, and they want to implement, like I said, I'm a specialist in my country, I'm not for the whole Europe, but to finish Midgard, to exploit the gas that we have in our reserves with fracking. There are a lot of ideas that I'm totally convinced that are going to be a big project of Europe from the conservative. Please, I'm not a politician. I'm 60 years old, and I want to retire in the following 4 or 5 years. I think I have been working for a lot of time, but I think that here are young people prepared, very well prepared. Please, we need to take the power. We need to take the power of Europe. If we don't take the power, and we leave the opportunity to the left to change Europe will be a disaster at the end of this decade. I am seeing it on my own hands and my brain. What are the stupid socialists and communists producing to my country? Let me tell you something. Spain is the 4th GDP country. Since this government has arrived to the power, we became number 25 in growing GDP in the last 4 years, and the 27 over 27 in net income per capita. And at the same time, 27 of 27, socialism and communism. And at the same time, they have produced 270,000 million euros of debt, new debt. This is the left, and this is what the left is going to do. Please, we need to prepare a plan, a very, very clear plan on green, in order to avoid the left took the position that they have, and we need to take the power. Of course, by the elections, but we need to take a power and depend on you and the young people that are here at this room.
Thank you. Practical solutions.
It's indeed it's necessary to absolutely, completely rethink our approach and thinking on energy for our societies, and understand the costs, the real cost of that. What does it mean? And in terms of costs, in terms of money, it means substantial investment in order to link those channels of alternative supplies. So I think we are not still there. We really should rethink that. We should invest major amounts, like really, it's something that politicians should decide on. Otherwise, again and again, we have nice declarations on our cooperation on B9 and everything, but without those investments, it will not come. So we will not succeed. So this is necessary to understand. For our as well for our societies and our governments to really to go on, to put on the table and rethink and seriously think on the options that we have, and forget all those patterns of thinking and models what he had in the past. It's all gone. For us in Latvia also we have, I mentioned hydro power plants, which is underestimated, small hydro power plants. Also we have a resource of the peat bugs. And it's something that it's put on the discussion, so we can go to those resources as well. And I really sympathize idea of nuclear energy, and this is something that should be absolutely the new impetus, absolutely new. This is reborn of this idea. It will come back. There is no other way. It's coming back, and it's possible to build a safe, reliable resource on nuclear energy. It's possible, we know it, it's working. So let's do that.
And then finally for Mr. Majewski, we have just a few minutes left, and I just wanted to, I know from CEOs in the United States, it's it's always challenging because you're pushed and pulled by different forces and different loud voices in the community. And so I'm wondering from your perspective what the folks in this room can do to support you as someone who's got a common sense approach and a strong security focus for the future. What can folks in this room do to help you?
Rzeczywiście zielony.
The green pivot is truly unavoidable, but my advice to young leaders is to mainly act in a systemic manner, consistent, consequent, based on a plan of action built on economic analysis, and act and go forward rationally, reasonably, and not just in the sphere of PR. A lot is spoken about new trends, technologies, what else can be done to green the economy. But we have to concentrate on those activities which are realistic, which are doable here and now and which have economic basis, because not even the most ambitious and attractive plan, ideological plan, will have the chance to be successful if societies of many countries, all of Europe, are touched by energy poverty. If it turns out that the costs by households incurred for heating, for upkeeping electrical energy and power sources will come out, will cross a certain threshold, we'll have an example of people coming out in the street. If you remember the yellow vests in France, because of the increase in the cost of fuel. No ideology can take prime over rational reasoning, thinking, and analysis. Economic analyses should consider the reconstruction of the transformation of the energy sector.
Each one of you for very interesting, very bracing thoughts, and as well as a challenge as to what we all can do and should do to combat what is clearly not only a devastating agenda from the environmentalists on the left, but a particularly dangerous one from Putin with the dependence that we have on his energy. And so I think we've heard some bracing reality, but also some optimism and challenge for the future. So would you join me in thanking our three panelists this morning? And I would turn it back to our host. I believe we have a coffee break, but I would defer to our host. But thank you all for your hospitality and your attention very much.